Hi, Stephen. Thank you so much for having a chat with me today and for so generously donating your book to the Lockdown Library. So as you know, the Lockdown Library is a free resource, so people can download free books from fantastic authors like yourself. And I wanted to do these interviews so that people can see the authors behind the books. So it's fantastic to be able to have a chat with you today about yourself and the book that you've donated to the library. But I know that you're a copywriter, that's what you are now, but you've got quite an interesting background. Do you want to tell us a bit about yourself before we start talking about your book?
I lived in Hong Kong. I grew up in Hong Kong. I'm from Hong Kong, really. I was there for 25 years. So I wrote for the newspaper there. I was freelance, so I wrote for a number of papers, but mostly for the newspaper there. And I was a feature writer. So when you're a feature writer, all you're trying to persuade somebody to do is that whatever you're writing about is interesting. But if you're an English language professional writer in Hong Kong, you are going to get approached to do some corporate writing because that's what you do for a living, writing, and you've got a visa that allows you to do it for anybody. So I got pulled into copywriting, and I had clients like Intel and Microsoft and a lot of technology companies because I'd done a lot of technology journalism. And then when I came to Australia, they need another journalist down here like a hole in the head, right? They don't need to give visas to foreign people to come and be journalists here, but apparently they needed PR people because what the world needs, Rebecca, is more PR people, right? So I got a visa to come down here and be a PR person. So I was a PR person for a law firm. And from that, I went on through a few filters to become a copywriter full-time. So everything that I've done is about writing. And then it moved into persuasive writing. Because even in PR, you're trying to persuade a journalist that what you want to talk about is interesting. I mean, there are different flavors. Some PR is about trying to get people to come to an event, and some PR is about trying to organize a stunt, and some is about trying to get journalists not to write what they want to write. But the PR that I was involved in was trying to persuade journalists that a bunch of lawyers were interesting. So, that was a grueling 18 months.
Well, you must have been good at it, because am I right that your book was used at Sydney University as part of their teaching around PR?
Yeah, so I wrote the book out of annoyance, which has been my motivation for so much of what I've done in my life. As a journalist, I used to get hundreds, not metaphorically, literally hundreds of press releases, or figuratively press releases, a week. And they were awful. And many of them, most of them. And some of them were great, and they were from good PR people. So if you were a good PR person, you came to my inbox. If you were a bad PR person, there was a filter, and I would only ever look in that folder if I was desperate for a story. But they were all charging people money. All these PR people were charging their clients money to write press releases that had zero chance of getting in the media. And I found that frustrating because as a small business person myself, I knew that it was possible to do it, to get yourself in the media, that the media was really helpful to businesses. And it's either some of them were being ripped off, or some of them thought it was too hard, and I could teach people how to do it. So I wrote a book that you could read in an hour and a half. And at the end of that hour and a half, I'm not kidding you, you know everything you need to do to get your business in the media. You don't know what to do. If your oil rig blows up and you're killing sea life from here to the Gulf of Florida, my book will not help you. But if you are running a small business and you think, I need to get a little bit of media exposure, or I need a blogger to write about me, the book will teach you everything you need to know. And I wrote the book, I self-published the book. And so I was incredibly surprised when I got an email one day from a lecturer at the University of Sydney saying, I want to teach your book on my course. Because I have latterly found out that lecturers do not put self-published books on their reading list, right? If you're not published by somebody and you're not terribly important, you're not going to get on a university reading list, except I did. And I did once. I was in the office of the PR Industry Association in Sydney, and they had a PR textbook on their coffee table. And I'd never seen a PR textbook, right? Because I didn't go to university to learn PR. I just learned PR. And it was this fat ass book that couldn't have made PR sound more boring or have been, in my humble opinion, less helpful to anyone trying to do PR. Whereas my book is about that thick, and you'll get in the media. If you follow the advice, you'll get yourself in the media.
We need to get a copy of that book in the library.
I don't know. I was saying to somebody today who studied PR, what she did, but what do you do for 4 years if you're studying PR? How do they fill your time? Like, what? There's not that much to learn. It's not possible. You know, some things are a craft. You go and you learn from someone who's good at it. You don't need to go to university to study it. But Australia has a fascination with university degrees.
Yeah, I've had a long-standing belief that universities and education make something you're really interested in really boring.
Well, when I came here and I was looking for a job, and all the ads for PR people said, you know, you must have a degree in PR. And I finally got hold of a recruiter and I said, listen, two things. Like, one, the university I went to has never and will never do a degree in PR. Two, I did my degree between the ages of 18 and 21, where I did nothing but drink tea during the day and beer at night and do virtually no studying whatsoever. So why on earth would you be measuring me on that period in my life as opposed to the period of my life when I've been doing journalism and PR? Which fortunately for me, she took to be a good point, and I ended up getting a job.
And you've obviously been very successful because you run your own company now called Tailless, which I love the name. When I first read it, I read it as Tailless, but I know that it's Tailless, and it's such a fantastic name for what you do. Tell us a bit about the business.
So Tailless has been a few things over, say, the last 5 or 6 years. And we came up with the name Tailless to mean a teller of fine tales, a word we completely made up, and we love it as well, but people do have trouble when they first see it pronouncing it. So in that sense, it's a shit name, but it's short. You can always get the domain name, the social media handle, because it's a made up word. And I was really influenced by Kodak in that regard, that the name Kodak was created because he wanted a name that was unique. And what we do now is specialize in writing websites and landing pages that get somebody to do something, because that's what copywriting is. It's about persuading a reader to do something, whereas content writing is writing a blog post about winter soup recipes or whatever it might be. You're demonstrating some expertise. In that sense, you're trying to persuade somebody that you know your stuff. But landing on a page about X and persuading somebody to click contact me, that's copywriting. And there's an art to it, and a craft and a science, and most people don't know how to do it. And the difference that it makes when you do it right it can be huge to a business. I mean, a lot of our clients, you know, I always say this, our ideal client is generally not the person who's just making their website. Our ideal client already has a website, so they've seen what happens when you do it badly, and the answer is nothing happens. Your phone doesn't ring, nobody calls. You know, you'll get business because you've got networks and you're good at what you do, and people refer you, and so the business can be going gangbusters. And then you get to that point, some period into your business, where you go, oh, I wonder if my website should be bringing me any of that business. And then they go out and say, hang on a minute. Maybe I need to get someone to help with that. Or quite often they've gone and bought advertising. So they're buying Google ads, they're buying Facebook ads, they're paying someone to do their SEO, and they're getting traffic to the website, but the traffic isn't converting into inquiries or sales. And there's only one reason for that, right? If the right people are visiting your website, there's only one reason why they're not contacting you, and it's because you haven't persuaded them to do that.
Yeah. And so when you wrote the book that's in the Lockdown Library, How to Write Perfect Press, who did you write that for? For copywriters or for people to do it themselves?
I wrote it for business owners. I wrote it for business owners who didn't need, I mean, there's a reason why PR people want to charge you a retainer of at least $5,000 to $7,000 a month, because PR is hard, and PR and copywriting are similar, right? In the sense that you are trying to persuade somebody of something. With PR, you have a very specific audience in mind, and you're trying to persuade them that you're interesting. So it is copywriting in that sense. And in order to do any kind of copywriting, you have to understand the product, the business that you're selling. So a PR agency needs to charge you a certain amount of money because they need to spend some time understanding your business. But when you're the business owner, you can shortcut that. You just need to know how to find what's interesting in your business. And sort of, 18 months of working for lawyers, you see a lot of evidence of people having no idea what's interesting. They think they are fascinating, and they miss completely what is actually interesting to other people. And lawyers are, with apologies to any lawyers watching, an absolutely fabulous audience of people who think they're fascinating, and can't understand why they're not getting in the media on the mere basis of their own fascinatingness.
Yeah. So who should read this then? Who is the audience that should be reading this book?
Anybody who wants to get that kick and boost that media can give you. So, and when I say media, I mean radio, TV, print, but also blogs and also social media. If you want somebody to cover you and write about you or make a video about you, this gives you the package for how to do that. And even if, because this is the other thing as well, people, one reason why PR is, in my opinion, the last thing you should invest in. You have to have everything else right before you go to a PR agency, because it's very amorphous what PR can do. But one of the things you never want to forget is that once you've been in the Sydney Morning Herald or the New York Times or the Guardian or whatever is your publication of choice, you always have. You will always be Tailless as seen in the Guardian, as seen in the New Yorker. So, that's my business, right? We've been in the Guardian, the New Yorker, CNN, Forbes. It doesn't matter that the most recent of those mentions was probably 4 years ago. We will always be as featured in. So even if you just say to yourself, do you know what, 2020 is going to be my year of trying to build that credibility of my business to say as featured in this, it's an hour and a half of reading. And then, you've got some work to do, because when it comes to PR, a popular misconception is you can just bash something out to the editor and the rest will take care of itself. And when I was a journalist in Hong Kong, it was back in the days of fax machines and thermal paper scrolling out of the fax machine. And occasionally someone would wander over to the fax machine and rip off the paper and have a look through what was there. Anything that was addressed to the editor went immediately in the bin. Because if you haven't worked out who at the newspaper you need to be writing to, so you're going to the editor, you might as well write to the occupant, right? It's just not going to happen. Straight in the bin. So you do need to do some work, but when somebody shows you how to do it step by step, it is that much easier.
Fantastic. And if people read the book and then they're going to want to work with you, because I think things like this, it's worth investing in your business and getting the experts like yourself to come in and do it for you. We can get some tips to show us why you're doing what you do, and do some stuff ourselves. But if people want to work with you, how do they get in touch with you?
So at tailless.agency, there are a number of freebies at tailless.agency. This is one of them. And this is probably the most altruistic freebie that I've ever given away, because I don't do PR. So if you want my help with PR, you are shit out of luck, because it's not a service that I offer. So I was freely able to give the book away and say, look, I think it's really helpful to people. I know people have got in the media and loved, how easy it is to do that, to learn how to do that. But I have no money to make on the back of that. In terms of copywriting, you can go to the website. There's some free giveaways that will help you with that. But also there's a contact form there. and you can fill that in if you want some help. Ideally, if you're getting traffic to your website and you want some help getting that traffic to actually pick up the phone and call you, then that's where we can help. And we can help either by reviewing your existing website and existing landing page and giving you some pointers about how to improve that, or we can do the whole thing for you. So it goes from there to there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. I've certainly learned a lot talking to you today. It's one of those areas, I think, where everybody can write, but if you want to be distinction and lift your game, then you need a professional like yourself that has got all of that experience that can really help. So
I think it's everybody can type like that.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, like I'm giving away some inside Tailless tips now, but when somebody says on the phone, I do this myself if I had time, then I know they're not a good client for us. Because what I'm hearing in my head is, would you take out your kid's appendix if you had time? No, you wouldn't, because there's some skill in that you don't have. And I'm not saying copywriting is equivalent to life-saving surgery, but what I'm saying is you have to recognize there's some skill in it that you don't have, and that also having someone who is distant from your business can be incredibly helpful, because you will find that Peter Drucker has a great saying, or said a great thing, which was, most businesses don't know what they sell. So, you're selling. So for instance, I've got a client at the moment who does HR advice. What they are selling is the feeling of safety you get that Fair Work Commission can't give you a massive fine. They're not selling templated documentation. They're selling the feeling of security. So it's that kind of thing that somebody else can help you to shape.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, Stephen. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you and find out a bit more about what you do. And people can go to tailless.agency to get more information and to connect with you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you so much. Take care.